What happened when he came home that night?
Roxy's car was there, but she wasn't there.
All that stuff that she would be taking if she was going to be gone for a long time, that stuff was still there.
He was cheating on her, and she found out about her. Roxy sent her kind of a scathing text.
It just really threw up a lot of red flags for me.
Started changing up how we were looking at the other case, obviously.
What was the fear?
Roxy had left and she was never coming back.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé brings us to Broken Bow, Oklahoma, the rural community that made headlines in 2019 when a woman named Roxy Fazy seemingly vanished from her own home. As the search to find her intensified, no one was prepared for what investigators would uncover. It was January 26th, a quiet Saturday at the McCurtain County Sheriff's Office when Broken Bow resident Brian McMahon called in to report a theft.
He contacted the sheriff's office and made a report that he had $8,600 missing and his live-in girlfriend was gone.
Brian's girlfriend was 56-year-old Roxy Fazy. He told police the last time he saw her was on Friday morning before he left for work.
He told us that he got home from work, she wasn't there, her car wasn't there, and so he took a shower and then left and went to the gymnasium to referee the ball game. Came home that night and Roxy's car was there, but she wasn't there.
Brian said he tried calling her, but she didn't answer.
The next morning he gets up, starts looking around and discovers this money's missing. And then he noticed there's some photographs from the mantle of her children that are gone.
Brian told police he was upset Roxy had taken his money and left. He admitted they had been having issues, but were trying to work on it. Officers made a report, but didn't think too much about it. But then a few days later, a second call came in that changed everything. This time, it was from Roxy's daughter in Canada, who wanted to report her missing. She insisted that her mother would never have just run off and that something was terribly wrong.
She's like, I talk to my mom every day. If not every day, it is every other day, no matter what.
What in her words convinced you that you had to investigate Roxy's disappearance immediately?
The mere circumstances of how she was missing for 3 or 4 days. She always talked to her daughter every day and nothing. It just really threw up a lot of red flags for me.
Detective Devin Black quickly sprung into action.
I just immediately started typing out search warrants for her residence to look and go see if there's any signs of foul play.
Investigators searched Roxy and Brian's home, and although they didn't find any evidence of a crime, there were certain things that led Detective Black to believe Roxy had not planned on leaving. So what did you find in the home that was so troubling?
Being married for 15 years, I know what my wife's going to take if we're going to go on vacation. That stuff was still there at Roxy's. Toothbrushes, deodorant, all that stuff that she would be taking if she was going to be gone for a long time, that stuff was still there.
The house was spotless.
I'm talking immaculate. Like there was not a speck of food, not dust anywhere. It was so precisely clean that the couch had vacuum marks, like vertical vacuum marks in it. And whenever I saw that, that kind of threw up suspicion for me.
And there was more. Roxy's daughter had told Detective Black to look for a specific pillow that Roxy had from her childhood. She said her mother would never leave home without it.
So that was actually one of the items I listed in the search warrant to go look for. and we found it. It was there laying on the bed.
Nothing made sense, and detectives got to work trying to create a timeline of Roxy's last known movements. Her last phone call was to a friend. Their plan was to attend a basketball tournament.
She made plans to meet her friend at the game that night. She asked her friend to save her a seat. Roxy would call her when she arrived at the gym, and then they would sit together. But she never arrived at the game.
But detectives caught a big break when Broken Bow police let them know that they had pulled Roxy over for speeding late Friday afternoon, which proved she was alive earlier that day. This is the actual body cam video of that stop.
I don't know how I did it. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. You're doing fine. You have a safe weekend.
Those words from the officer now seemed haunting. Investigators studied the video and couldn't find anything that made it seem as if Roxy had been upset or wanting to run away.
Roxy was happy. She was bubbly with the police officer.
In fact, Roxy's daughter confirmed that her mom was more than happy. She was in love.
She loved Brian. Like, she would do anything for Brian. She was, I don't want to say obsessed, but man, that was her life, was Brian.
Detectives got Roxy's phone records, which showed that she had arrived home around 4 p.m. shortly after being pulled over. But just an hour later, the phone was turned off and she was never heard from again. Investigators had more questions than answers, but one thing was clear. Roxy's sudden disappearance didn't add up.
Roxy sent her kind of a scathing text.
Very, very confrontational.
Detectives investigating Roxy Fazy's disappearance were at a loss. It was as if she had faded into thin air.
Roxy had a planned trip to Fiji. She was excited about it. She went tanning. She had a hair appointment scheduled. Whenever you find someone that has future plans, they don't just leave on their own with no communication with anyone.
As the days and weeks began to pass, investigators turned to the media, hoping the publicity might spark some new tips.
I got a news crew to come down and get her out on TV, show pictures, and kind of connect people with her.
Roxy's boyfriend, Brian McMahon, gave this interview, saying he was completely heartbroken.
We're making plans to be together for the rest of our lives. I don't know why she left.
But during the interview, he also threw out a theory.
I think she met somebody and I went away with him.
Was there anything you found that led you to believe that Roxy had a secret boyfriend?
We never found anything like that through any of her cell phone data, her messages, her Facebook, any social media events, communications with anyone where she had met anybody.
In fact, those closest to Roxy told detectives that it was Brian who had strayed from their relationship.
She discussed with various friends about she thought he was cheating on her.
But instead of getting upset with Brian, Roxy took it out on the other woman.
Roxy found out about her and contacted her and it really took the lady by surprise.
Brian met her at the library. He was an avid reader.
And Roxy was very jealous.
I think she wrote her a letter telling her, you're a home wrecker.
And then Roxy sent a final text message to the woman the day before she went missing. The timing seemed almost too coincidental, and investigators wondered if it had led to her disappearance. Without a body and no evidence, the search expanded.
Once we couldn't locate her anywhere here, we started using border crossing blogs, registration, TSA. Anytime you fly, you go through the airport. Nowadays, they track everything.
Since Roxy's daughter lived in Canada, they reached out to Canadian Mounted Police to observe her daughter's home.
They actually went and sat on that house and watched it for a short time to make sure. It turned from a missing person to Oklahoma to a North America missing person. I mean, we looked all over the northern continent.
As they were exploring all possibilities, the case suddenly took a dramatic turn. Police got a call from some local property owners whose son had made a grisly discovery. Tell me about the call that came in on March 18th.
Their college-age son and his girlfriend had been walking near the water mill, and they thought they saw a dead body.
So we get there, and the body is laying face down in this creek, and it's probably 3 feet deep. We don't really suspect it's Roxy, but anytime you have an unidentified body and we have somebody missing, we're curious.
What were some of the questions you had about the location the body was discovered?
How did she get there? Who would have put her there?
This is a homicide.
56-year-old Roxy Fazy had been missing for almost 2 months when investigators were told that a body had surfaced in a creek about 45 minutes away from Broken Bow. When detectives arrived, they could see the body floating face down in the creek.
We could tell it was a female, but there was, she was in, some stages of decomposition at that point. Really couldn't make out facial features or anything. Once a body gets into latter stages of decomposition, there's certain things that you lose. Things like strangulation, suffocation, those indicators go away once decomposition sets in.
As detectives removed the body from the water, they were horrified by what they saw.
As we're pulling the body up, it's wrapped in a logging chain. The chain's crisscrossed around her body and actually zip-tied back unto itself around her wrist. And we were like, this is a homicide.
The body was taken to the medical examiner's office, where a tattoo on her leg revealed that the victim was Roxy Fazy. What were some of the questions you had about the location where Roxy's body was discovered?
What's the tie to the dump site where the body's found? How did she get there? Who would have put her there?
Police spoke with a woman who owned the property. She didn't recognize Roxy's photo, but she did recognize one person in Roxy's life who had been to her home multiple times. It was Roxy's boyfriend, Brian McMahon. He owned a landscaping company and had worked on her property.
So we start talking to his employees and asking about chains and their equipment. And one of them was like, yeah, he said, we used to have a chain. He said, we only used it for one thing because it had a missing hook on it.
The chain that had been wrapped around Roxy's body also had a missing hook. Investigators went to speak with McMahon without telling him he was now their prime suspect.
I wanted to see if I could arouse an emotional response out of him. And I said, Brian, we found Roxy, she's dead. Just like that, very cold. Brian just dropped his head for 30 seconds, looked up, and this is the weird response he had. Was she in Oklahoma? Not, how did it happen? Where did you find her? Oh my God, not a tear, not a sob, not anything.
Obviously that spoke volumes to me. If I came up to you right now and said, your dog's dead, you're gonna at least, are you sure? How, where, why? Those kind of questions, unless you already know the answer to them.
Investigators got McMahon's phone records, which showed he had been lying about what time he was home on January the 25th, the last day Roxy was seen alive.
GPS data showed that not only did he get there to his house at about 2 o'clock, he was there until a little after 6 o'clock that evening. So they were actually there at the same time. In fact, her phone got turned off, was never turned on again while he's at home, based on his location data.
McMahon's phone also revealed that he visited the location where the body was discovered the day after investigators interviewed him about Roxy's disappearance.
I believe he went to see if her body was popped up or to see if it was still hidden.
Detectives then interviewed the woman who Roxy believed Brian was having an affair with. She told police she had no idea he had a live-in girlfriend and that she had cut all ties with him after finding out. But shortly after Roxy disappeared, she heard from Brian again.
Brian calls her and tells her that Roxy had left him and she was never coming back.
The evidence against Brian McMahon was overwhelming.
It all added up. No one but him could have done it.
McMahon was arrested and charged for the murder of Roxy Fazey. But investigators still had one more question they wanted to answer. Why did he do it? Investigators believe it was all about money. It turned out McMahon had started over in Oklahoma after getting a divorce in Pennsylvania.
He owed her about $65,000, $68,000 somewhere dollars in alimony.
The week she was murdered, Roxy had told family she thought McMahon was cheating on her again. Oklahoma is a common law state, which means a couple living together is treated as a married couple, particularly when it comes to splitting finances. Detectives theorize that Roxy confronted Brian about this and demanded a large amount of his assets.
Down here, he had a pretty successful business mowing lawns. Accumulated some property, some items, some equity in his home and vehicles.
Police believe the argument over money led to murder. On June 3, 2022, a jury found Brian McMahon guilty of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I was glad that the jury saw what I saw and understood the evidence and was able to get it. I guess one of the most gratifying parts of the job.
And now, it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. Roxy Fazey's gruesome murder left a hole in the hearts of her family. The case highlights the extreme consequences that can arise from domestic conflict. While no advice can assure that you will be safe 100% of the time, here are a few tips that could help. If you suspect any form of abuse, prioritize your safety. Avoid confrontations that could escalate into violence. If you choose to address the issue, do so calmly and in a safe environment. Of course, open communication can sometimes resolve issues or at least provide clarity. It's also important to lean on friends, family, and support groups. They can offer emotional support and practical advice. Seek the support of therapists or counselors who can provide guidance on managing relationship issues and personal safety. And if the relationship becomes hostile or unsafe, it may be necessary to leave. Create a plan with the help of professionals to ensure your exit is as safe as possible. And if you are in immediate danger, contact local authorities or the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.
911, what is the emergency? I just got home and my husband's dead on the floor.
What did you feel was the cause of death?
I thought it was possible that this was a natural death.
Kelly was distraught, close to hysterical. Also at the scene was Randy's sister, Carol.
There's no evidence that anybody kicked the door.
I'm not finding that either.
Carol was jealous of Randy. He was always the superstar. We interviewed someone who ultimately confessed, shot Randy in the head and in the chest, killing him instantly.
What finally implicated them?
Interspersed within their messages were discussions about killing Randy. And she was looking at $800,000 if Randy would just die.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé brings us to Greeley, Colorado. A wife was stunned to find her husband dead on the floor in the entryway of their house. As investigators looked closer at what appeared to be a natural death, details emerged that suggested Randy Baker had been murdered. Finding out who wanted him dead was further complicated by his work as an addiction counselor. It was a case involving drugs, family, and money that seemed to implicate more than one person. Police had to sort through it all to find the killer, and in the end, they couldn't believe who it was. It was the morning of August 16th. As the sun rose over the dog days of summer, a frantic wife called Weld County 911. The woman told dispatch that she had come home and discovered her husband dead.
911, what is your name, first and last? Kelly Baker. What is the emergency? I just got home and I opened the door and my husband's dead on the floor.
When I arrived on scene, Kelly Baker was seated on the front steps of the home. I made entry into the house and found Randy deceased on a floor.
Officer Medhurst observed a man in his 50s with a visible head injury. A bag of fast food and a drink were scattered around the body. Kelly Baker told the officer that her husband Randy had a medical condition and was about to enter hospice. So, hearing this information, what did you believe might have caused his death?
With Kelly's information that she provided me, I thought it was possible that this was a natural death.
At first glance, it didn't appear that anything had been taken from the home. But a closer look revealed that Randy Baker's car was missing.
Randy had a Pontiac sedan that's normally parked in the garage, but his car was not there. Also, Randy's wallet and the keys for the car were missing. I noticed that the back door to the backyard was open.
The scene of a death, emotional and fluid, suddenly shifted in another direction.
I thought that was a possibility that Randy had come home and interrupted a burglary at his house and that they had stolen his car and wallet.
While other investigators helped process the evidence, members of the grieving family began to arrive.
I ran to Kelly and I'm crying. So she told us what she thinks happened is he came home from work, either had a heart attack or something and tripped and hit his head.
It was an emotional scene as the family processed the shock of Randy's death.
At the scene was Randy's sister, Carol Baker, and Randy's daughter, Betty Winnick. And so officers would speak with each of those individuals.
When you talked to the family, did any of the interactions stand out to you?
When I was talking to Kelly, her demeanor seemed upset at learning the death of a significant other. Carol's demeanor was pretty emotionless.
Randy's sister, Carol, had been in her brother's home earlier and said she didn't notice anything out of the ordinary.
She was caring for the dog that Randy and Kelly had. I asked Carol if she'd left the door open, but she wasn't sure if she'd left it open.
A fast food bag that lay next to the body was retrieved as evidence. Inside was a receipt with a timestamp. So why was the time the food was purchased important?
I went to that fast food restaurant to look at video surveillance. I found Randy in his Pontiac sedan going through the drive-thru with his vehicle. So this told me that Randy had made it to Greeley and should have driven it home.
The death appeared to be an accident caused by underlying health issues. But days later, discrepancies would suggest a more sinister cause of death for Randy Baker.
Carol said she saw a character in the neighborhood that she just felt that this individual was suspicious.
Investigators looking into the death of Randy Baker awaited the autopsy. But the coroner's findings came as a surprise. What did the coroner find during the autopsy?
During autopsy, the forensic pathologist found a large caliber round in his chest. It was definitely a surprise. There were bullets in his body.
Detectives now knew that Randy Baker's death was a murder. Finding out who was responsible would take time and a lot of digging. Armed with a search warrant, the following day, investigators returned to the Baker home to further document the scene. What did the officers notice that was different this time at the Baker home?
At the initial call to the home, photographs captured Randy's Harley motorcycle that was parked in the garage. During the search warrant, that motorcycle was missing, and Kelly Baker asserted that upwards of $10,000 in cash could not be found inside of the home.
Police again questioned Randy's wife, his daughter, and his sister Carol. And this time, Carol recalled seeing someone in the neighborhood the day Randy died. What did Carol tell investigators that she didn't share days earlier?
Carol said she showed up at the home roughly an hour before Randy arrived. She saw a character in the neighborhood that she just felt that this individual was suspicious.
Police learned that Randy was a drug addiction counselor at a halfway house, as well as being a former addict himself. They considered the possibility that the stranger reported by Carol might have been someone Randy knew from his work. It was also revealed that the marriage between Randy and Kelly Baker was ending. According to Kelly, the breakup was amicable.
Kelly had essentially separated from Randy, moved out of the home, in with some friends, but she continued to work as a hairdresser in a salon that they had built in the basement of their home.
2 days after Randy's death, police got a break in the case. Randy's car was recovered. How did they recover Randy's car?
The license plates have been removed. It appeared as if someone had washed down the car haphazardly, more like using a bucket with a rag is what it appeared in the dust. The key fob was found on the floorboard of the vehicle, but otherwise there turned out to be absolutely no other evidence with the car. There was no latent prints.
The discovery suggested there was a deeper mystery beyond a stolen car. Investigators interviewed their street contacts, looking for information that could lead to the killer.
Through a collection of bottom feeders, we interviewed someone who ultimately confessed that they had come into possession of the vehicle from someone by the name of Mark Raisley.
Police learned that Mark Raisley was the nephew of Carol Baker, Randy's sister. They immediately arranged an interview with Mark, who had a surprising story to tell.
Include with me, now would be the time to do it, because we don't want Carol to reveal something that she just never told me.
Like I said, like in the whole interview or whatever, like I've seen Carol that one time when she gave me the car.
His aunt, Carol, had called him and asked him to come pick up the car, and that her son, Kelly Raisley, had left the car at her home and she wanted Mark to get rid of it.
A court order was requested for the cell phone records of Kelly Baker, Carol Baker, and Kelly Raisley. The digital data would lead investigators into a dark web of deceit and greed.
They were almost in constant interaction with one another. Something like 5,400 text messages.
Within days of Randy Baker's murder, police had evidence that implicated the people closest to him. Cell phone records connected Carol Baker's family with the victim's stolen car.
Mark is a nephew to Carol Baker, which of course, given the data that was extracted from the phones and this lead, Carol's nephew handed off a dead man's car after he had been murdered. The investigation began to turn towards Carol.
The forensic download revealed a treasure trove of text between Carol and Kelly Baker, the victim's wife. What did the text reveal?
They were almost in constant interaction with one another. Something like 5,400 text messages over a 3 to 5 month period.
But it was the content of those texts between Carol and Randy's widow that really jumped out at investigators.
Kelly hated Randy Baker, as did Carol. And interspersed within their messages were discussions about killing Randy. And ultimately, Carol Baker's son, Kelly Raisley, joined into these conversations.
Investigators didn't want to scare off Kelly Baker and Carol by confronting them with the evidence they had found. However, Kelly Raisley, Carol's son, was interviewed, and he admitted his involvement in the murder of his uncle, Randy Baker.
Any conversations at all about the plan?
I was approached through my mom, but it was, I said, well, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it.
Did she explain anything? Did either of you talk about killing Randy?
I mean, we knew what it was.
Kelly Raisley said Carol drove him to Randy's home, and then his mom drove away when he realized Randy had just walked into their home. He spun and shot Randy in the head and shot Randy in the chest, killing him instantly.
Kelly Raisley then stole Randy Baker's car and asked his brother to dump it at another location. Kelly's reward for the murder was Randy's prized motorcycle and $10,000 in cash.
Did these ladies think they were going to get away with this?
Apparently, yeah.
Did they ever talk about it? And were they ever worried that they were engaged in coordinating the murder of Randy?
Apparently not, because they did everything I told them not to do.
What police wanted now were the masterminds who orchestrated the murder. Randy's sister Carol and his wife, Kelly Baker. How did the arrests of Kelly and Carol play out?
The judge issued arrest warrants commanding the arrest of Kelly and Carol Baker for the first-degree murder of Randy Baker. From there, I orchestrated follow-up interviews with Kelly and Carol.
When presented with her incriminating text to Kelly Baker and text that showed her soliciting her son to kill her brother, Carol quickly folded. What was Carol's reaction to all the evidence you had?
She was clearly shocked, and Carol Baker would confess to helping Kelly Raisley and Kelly Baker in the planning and the commission of the murder of Randy Baker.
So you guys had a pretty good conversation about killing Randy. You were telling her not to, but she's saying, I'm going to do it. Who was with Kelly in the house when he murdered Randy?
Nobody was there.
Just Kelly?
Had to be just Kelly.
Kelly Raisley shows up at your house with the car. You know the plan was to murder Randy. You knew that's Randy's car. So you knew Randy had just been murdered by Kelly. Is that true?
I didn't know for sure, but I suspected.
What has Kelly Baker told you since the murder? Is she worried that you're going to tell us the truth?
don't know. We don't talk about it.
I guess my questions now are kind of, what role did you play in Randy's murder?
I didn't play a role.
Kelly Baker was next to be interviewed at the Greeley Police Headquarters.
When she arrived at the police department, I had Carol sitting in a room to confuse Kelly into believing that Carol had snitched her out.
I think I need an attorney.
You do? Okay. Well, you're under arrest for first-degree murder and conspiracy to first-degree murder. You're going to be processed, transported to the Weld County Jail, booked in. You have a no-bond warrant.
She asked for an attorney, saying she had nothing to do with Randy's death, but I knew otherwise. She was looking at something in the realm of about $800,000 if Randy would just die.
Kelly Baker, Carol Baker, and Kelly Raisley were tried and convicted for the murder of Randy Baker. And as it turns out, this wasn't the first time they tried to kill him. They had been slipping extra heart medication in his breakfast smoothies to lower his blood pressure, hoping he would get killed in a car accident. But he never did. Carol pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 30 years. Randy's wife, Kelly Baker, and his nephew, Kelly Raisley, received life without parole for first-degree murder. A life insurance policy of $800,000 was the impetus for Kelly Baker to have her husband killed. None of the three convicted have expressed remorse for the murder of Randy Baker. And now it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. Randy Baker's tragic story underscores the critical importance of personal safety and security, especially during vulnerable times such as a divorce. Navigating a divorce is a journey that requires not only emotional resilience, but practical foresight. Unfortunately, divorce can sometimes turn violent, putting personal safety at immediate risk. In these situations, knowing how to protect yourself is not just important, it's essential. If you or someone you know is navigating a contentious divorce, remember there are resources available to ensure your safety. From protective orders to emergency shelters and legal aid, these tools can provide critical protection during a turbulent time. Understand your rights, familiarize yourself with the financial aspects of divorce, and always know that a lawyer can help you navigate these issues and advise how to keep you and your family safe. Safety planning is key. This includes having a safe place to go, a way to contact help, and a plan for what to do in emergencies. Don't hesitate to reach out for support and use the resources designed to keep you safe. Like so many murders involving a husband and wife, money is often the siren. And more often than not, their own arrogance convicts them as much as their greed. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.
The last time anyone saw Tina was as Tina left work at a local hospital.
So was there any suggestion that somebody else was involved in her disappearance?
He was a logical person to go talk to as a potential suspect.
She wouldn't move away someplace and never contact anybody.
There were no witnesses to any sort or confrontation. There was nothing.
Why did investigators feel he was a suspect?
They could see a shovel, a white bucket, and an odd assortment of items in the car. And quite honestly, other than his mother, not a human on the planet liked him.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Greeley, Colorado. The town became the backdrop of a terrifying mystery when a young woman with her whole life ahead of her simply vanished. As investigators tried to find out what happened to Tina Torres, it became clear it would not be easy. And within months of her disappearance, the case went cold. That is, until the passage of time made it possible to hold her killer accountable. The date was October 20th, and as the sun began to fade in the Colorado sky, a frantic mother turned to police when her daughter suddenly went missing.
Tina Tornay's mother, Mary Tornay, called Greeley Police on October 20th, just after 7 in the evening, to report her suspicions that something had happened to her daughter, Tina, who was otherwise missing and couldn't be found by any member of her family.
In talking with Mary Tornay, police learned that her daughter's sudden disappearance was completely out of character.
The last time anyone reportedly saw Tina was about 7 in the morning on October 19th as Tina left work at a local hospital where she was a nurse in the oncology department.
I think nobody expected her disappearance because she was moving on. She had left her husband. She had a great job. She was, starting a whole new life.
Police called the hospital to confirm Tina had completed her shift. Her 8 siblings were also contacted, but no one had seen or heard from Tina.
When police finally got to the point where they decided to start searching because they were worried themselves, they went to look at her apartment and they noticed that her computer was on and it looked like there was nothing amiss other than a woman who had just gotten off work.
There was nothing out of the ordinary to explain Tina's whereabouts, and that made her disappearance all the more unsettling. What did you discover in her apartment?
There was no signs of a struggle, but detectives found her work ID as well as a nurse's smock that she had purchased. So clearly she had come home and apparently changed clothes before disappearing.
Tina's car was not in the parking lot, and investigators began a search for the vehicle, hoping that it would lead them to the missing woman. 7 hours after Tina's family called police, they got a break.
Detective Olson found the car. It was 3 in the morning. It was about 2 blocks to the south of her home and 2 blocks east, parked in an apartment complex where neighbors and people that lived there would tell officers they had never seen it before.
Police found Tina's car in an apartment complex. It was behind a grocery store here in Greeley, and there was really no rhyme or reason why that car would be there.
So it was, essentially 6 to 7 hours after Mary Tornay reported Tina was missing.
But there was no sign of Tina Tornay. So far, there were more questions than answers about her disappearance. What did you find, if anything, in her car?
The keys were missing from the vehicle. Her cellular phone, which in 1995 was not a frequent thing to find people in possession of phones. Tina's wallet was in the vehicle as well.
Police could only speculate as to what happened to Tina Tornay. They had little to go on and no evidence that she was the victim of a crime.
After finding the car, efforts continued to establish with evidence, credible evidence, what happened to Tina.
Tina was a beloved member of our community. She was a nurse. She was very bright. She moved up the ranks really fast. And from what I understand, she was very, very good with patients. She had lots of friends. The only person who would potentially be against her is her ex-husband. And she was missing, but there were no witnesses to an argument of any sort or confrontation.
Police then learned more information about Tina. She was separated from her husband, and Tina had told her family and her coworkers she was meeting with her estranged husband that morning after her shift ended. And what did investigators learn that might explain why Tina was missing?
She spoke with her best friend and sister, Susan, and told her that as part of the divorce that was proceeding between her and her husband, John Sandoval, that Tina needed to collect some money that he owed her. Tina told Susan she wasn't looking forward to the meeting, and they agreed. Tina needed to call Susan no later than noon on the 20th of October, just to let Susan know that Tina finished the meeting and had left John.
She had just one more thing to settle with her husband before she could really wash her hands of it. She went to meet her husband, and she was never heard from again.
Police needed to speak with her husband to see if he knew anything about Tina's whereabouts. In the early hours of the investigation, every minute counted.
She was missing. There was no body. There was nothing.
Detectives investigating the disappearance of Tina Torres were stymied in their search for the young woman. Learning that Tina was planning to meet her estranged husband sent the investigation in a new direction.
That morning when we found the car, Tina's car, such a short distance from Sandoval's house, an officer established surveillance.
Police went to John Sandoval's home to find out what he knew, if anything. So what did detectives see when they arrived?
They inspected Sandoval's car and could see a shovel with water droplets that were beginning to freeze on the blade. They saw a white bucket, a flashlight with a string tied to it, a trash bag, things like that. And about 2 hours and 45 minutes after the car was found, Sandoval pulled up outside of his home, exited, and hustled into the home.
At that moment, detectives decided to take Tina's estranged husband into custody.
Police went to speak with John. His aunt was there, and at first she denied that he was there and said he was in the shower, he wasn't available, and they had kind of surrounded the house by then.
And what was his reaction to police showing up at his home?
Knowing the evidence that they saw inside of the car, Detective Goldschmidt opted to enter the home, and Goldschmidt noticed plumes of steam from hot water billowing out of the bathroom. When Goldschmidt got to the door, he could hear shuffling sounds inside. When he forced open the bedroom door, he discovered Sandoval had jumped from a window and exited the home. Sandoval was confronted by law enforcement standing outside the home. He squared off to fight. He quickly lost that fight. He was taken into custody and brought to the police department.
Police questioned Sandoval about the whereabouts of his wife, and he acted like a man with something to hide. So how was John with investigators? What was his demeanor like?
When police were questioning John, he really was pretty defiant. He basically threw it back in their face. Why would I know anything about her disappearance or where she is right now? They noticed scratch marks on his neck, and they had to hold him down so they could take pictures. John started chewing his nails. The police did not want to lose any potential evidence, so they handcuffed him, and he fought them with every fiber of his being.
While John Sandoval was being interrogated, a police dog was brought in to identify the scent of whoever last drove Tina's vehicle.
And that dog, Daisy, would track the last person in the vehicle from the car down the street and up to the front door of Sandoval's home, and sniffed at that front door and confirmed that the person she was tracking went there.
While Sandoval was held on a previous breaking and entering charge, police learned that there was another man in Tina's life, and they had to consider the possibility that a jealous lover could have turned on Tina. So with another man now in the picture, was there suspicion that he could be involved in her disappearance?
That was always a possibility. She had a romantic relationship with John Sandoval's cousin, Jesse Martinez. He was interviewed early on, was vetted and researched. At least he was a logical person to go talk to and either establish an alibi or otherwise discount him as a potential suspect.
Weeks turned into months, and Tina's family began to doubt that they would ever see her again.
Well, the investigation from that point on really kind of suffered from a bit of stagnation. There was tons and tons of tips coming in on the tip line, so much so people were calling in on psychics from across the country were calling in with false leads. It was really years and years of false leads that led them nowhere. There was nobody. There was just not enough to arrest somebody for murder, and they just didn't have it yet. And without a body, they just didn't have what the DA at the time thought was enough to charge John with murder.
He threatened to stab her to death, along the lines of, "I can't have you, nobody will."
Within months of Tina Torres' disappearance, the investigation into who was responsible lost steam. Without a body or evidence of murder, the case was unable to move forward. But investigators continued to look into Tina and John's marriage and learned it was not a happy union.
Tina moved out and had filed for divorce almost 3 weeks before her disappearance, and he was claiming that if he couldn't have her, no one would.
John had regular contact with the Greeley police off and on for several years, starting when he was around 17 years old. He fancied himself as a kind of a night crawler, cat burglar type. He called himself the Shadow. He had a reputation for peeking in windows of women. He was accused of staging a robbery at a liquor store that he worked at so he could get away with the money. And whenever he was caught, he found a way to get out of it.
Police discovered other disturbing details about John Sandoval. He was not a man who took rejection well. What did you learn that could have led to Tina leaving her husband?
Well, I'd located at least 4 previous stalker-type behavior involving Sandoval and women that he had had intimate relationships with, where he threatened to take one of them into the county and stab her to death.
One of his girlfriends actually fled the state in fear of him because he broke into her apartment and took her by knife point and threatened to cut her into little pieces and leave her body in the mountains. And she disappeared because she was afraid. But then they also found another victim of John's who he stalked for years.
According to Tina's sister, Tina was dreading the meeting with her husband to finalize their divorce. Tina even shared a prophetic warning of what could happen. So how concerned was Tina about meeting with this man who was obsessed with her?
If anything happens to me, it's because of John. Those were her words exactly.
Although police didn't have enough evidence to connect John Sandoval to his wife's disappearance, they did charge him with breaking into another woman's apartment months before Tina went missing.
And I think the police at the time thought that would give them some time to really, dive a little more, maybe wait it out, find her body, and just continue.
John pled guilty to that crime and served 8 years on the stalking charge. Upon release, he moved to Las Vegas and tried to escape his past. But 14 years later, a new prosecutor was convinced that the passage of time proved that Tina was no longer alive. John Sandoval was finally arrested for the murder of Tina Torres. Without a body, how could prosecutors prove that Tina was dead?
The approach that we took was to begin to examine every record source within the United States. So we're talking Social Security, the National Crime Information Computer, nursing licenses, driver's license repositories, social media, and ultimately we found no existence of Tina after October 20th.
Tina's entire family was there every single day for every moment of that trial, and it was tense. There was fear. I talked to jurors who were afraid to look at him because he was so scary to even them. The most compelling thing for me in that 30-day trial was listening to the women who he stalked, who he victimized for a long time, especially his first girlfriend, who he threatened to cut up into little pieces. You could feel her terror.
The prosecutor succeeded in proving that Tina wasn't alive and that her husband was responsible for her death. John Sandoval was convicted for the first-degree murder of his wife, Tina Torres. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. So what did it mean to Tina's family to finally see the conviction?
The family, they just wanted justice. They wanted John to go down for what he did, and that's what we received with that verdict.
But the justice Tina's family so desperately wanted didn't last. In 2016, John Sandoval's conviction was overturned on a technicality.
His defense attorney was authorized to negotiate a plea in exchange for Tina's body.
One year after the Colorado Court of Appeals overturned John Sandoval's murder conviction, Weld County moved to retry the case. The prosecutor requested all recorded phone calls by Sandoval while in custody. So what was the reaction to the request for Sandoval's phone records?
And within a few short hours, his defense attorney was authorized by Sandoval to negotiate a plea in exchange for Tina's body.
The Torres family agreed to the deal, and John Sandoval was sentenced to 25 years to life. And Tina Torres' body was finally found in a cemetery of all places, the Sunset Memorial Gardens in Greeley, beneath a casket which was buried on the same day that Tina Torres went missing. And even though a killer was convicted in her death, like the family of so many victims, the Torres family had to endure the pain of not having their loved one home. And police say they had to make a deal with the devil just to get Tina's body. And now it's time for our safety spotlight. Tina Torres Sandoval's story is a sobering reminder of the importance of taking threats and concerns seriously, especially when dealing with potentially dangerous situations involving an ex-partner. Here are some safety tips based on her case. When dealing with a strained or potentially dangerous relationship, handle all communications through lawyers whenever possible. This minimizes direct contact and reduces the risk of confrontation. For your safety, never agree to meet an ex-partner alone if there are concerns about their behavior. Always involve a third party or arrange to meet in a secure, monitored environment. If an ex-partner has a history of violence or makes explicit threats, treat these warnings with the utmost seriousness. Contact law enforcement and document any threats or aggressive behavior. And if you have a gut feeling that something is wrong, don't ignore it. Take proactive measures to protect yourself. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.